Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. We're glad to have you with us this morning. We're a very welcoming congregation, and we appreciate your unique experiences, backgrounds, beliefs, and lifestyles. And if you're one of our long-term members or have been here a short time, or if you're joining us today for the very first time, we're so glad you are with us. We're also very grateful for those of you who are streaming our service today and those who have joined us via Zoom this morning. Would you like to take a moment and welcome or introduce yourself? Do we have the Zoom? Good morning.
Well, good morning. I see we're getting a very bad echo. And so maybe I will just wave hello. There's a few numbers today, but we're here in spirit.
Well, we're glad you're joining us today. You just want to say where you're located at?
I'm in Edmonton,
Okay.
New York, and Jacksonville, Florida.
Well, very good. That's quite a few miles between all of those, so welcome. Thank you for joining us today. It is also my pleasure to welcome our guest speakers this morning from Vanessa Behan, Amy Vega, who's the Executive Director, and Lacey Renner, the Developmental Director. I will introduce them in more detail later on in the service, so welcome to everyone. I don't have any announcements this morning, so now if you'd like to, please take a couple moments to greet each other and say hi again to someone that you've never met before or someone that you know. Thank you. We'll have more time for good conversation and coffee after the service. So at this time, we now turn from our informal greeting of one another to formally begin our service by the lighting of our chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and its solidarity, of our openness and inclusion, of our community and individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and to light those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt where it has been found.
I'm going to start today with a poem, and my focus today is going to be on generational cycles, so maybe keep that in mind as you listen. This is called By Example by Henry Matthew Ward. When I got mad and hit my child for his own good, I reconciled. And then I realized my plight. Today I taught my child to fight. When interrupted by the phone, I said, "Tell him I am not home." And then I thought and had to sigh. Today I taught my child to lie. I told the tax man what I made for getting cash that I was paid. And then I blushed at this sad feat. Today I taught my child to cheat. I smugly copied a cassette to free me of one more debt, but now the bells of shame must peal. Today I taught my child to steal. Today I cursed another race. Oh God, protect what I debase. For now I fear it is too late. Today I taught my child to hate. By my example, children learn that I must lead in life's sojourn in such a way that they are led by what is done, not what is said. Today I gave my child his due by praise for him instead of rue. And now I have begun my guide. Today I gave my child his pride. I have now reconciled and paid to IRS on all I made. And now I know that this dear youth today has learned from me the truth. The alms I give are not for show, and yet this child must surely know that charity is worth the price. Today he saw my sacrifice. I clasp within a warm embrace my neighbor of another race. The great commandment from above, today I taught my child to love. Someday my child must face alone this world of fearsome undertone. But I have blazed a sure pathway. Today I taught my child to pray. Thank you.
Our first hymn of the morning is actually an African-American hymn and may be familiar to many of you. It's called "Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child." Please rise as you're willing and able.
It's now time to light our candles of care. I want to light a candle of care this morning for Mary Mosier, who took a fall and has broken her arm, so our thoughts are with her today. Each time as we gather together as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and hearts and who we want to wrap in our love and care. Let us share a moment in silence, embracing others who are here and here in our hearts and minds this morning. And you're welcome to say their names aloud as you are comfortable. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world at this hour, we hold in our community of compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the larger world.
Always nice to have the choir sing for us on these Sundays. For our Time for All Ages this morning, I've got a story based on Cinderella. So many of you know that in addition to being a religious educator, I'm also a ballet teacher, and my studio is in the throes of putting together our own production of Cinderella in a few weeks. And this is a story that I have adapted from a version that was originally written by Gail Sfar. But I'll use this to get me in character. As Cinderella swept around the fireplace, she often thought about people with superpowers like Wonder Woman or magic like Harry Potter. She yearned to have a super magic power like that so that she could help others. She wanted to bring a smile to the face of the lonely little boy she saw at the market every morning. And she wanted to fix up the rundown playground at the park so the village children could play there. Cinderella knew she was destined for more than cleaning up after her cranky stepsisters. One night, just as Cinderella was about to fall asleep, a fairy godmother came into her room. "Hello, Cinderella," she said. "I'm here to help you. What have you been wishing for?" "Oh," cried Cinderella, "please give me some super magic powers so I can make a difference." "Well," said the fairy godmother, "I'm happy to give you some magic, Cinderella, but—" "Oh, thank you," interrupted Cinderella. And with that, she fell right to sleep. The next morning when Cinderella woke up, she remembered what had happened the night before. She jumped out of bed, eager to try out her new superpowers. As she began her morning chores, she realized she'd forgotten to ask what she needed to do to release the powers. You know, say some secret word or give a sign or something. But she decided she'd figure that out as she went along. Later that morning, when she was buying food for dinner at the market, she saw that sad boy sitting by himself. "Let's try my magic," she said, as she wiggled her fingers at him from a distance. Nothing. Maybe I need to get closer, she thought. So she walked closer to him, and he looked up at her. She felt nervous, knowing that he might not want to talk with her, but she couldn't help but give him a friendly smile. When she did, his face beamed with his own huge smile. "Ha!" thought Cinderella. "I really do have magic." "Can I join you?" she asked. "Sure," he said, smiling even bigger. Cinderella learned that the boy's grandmother sold bread at the market, but that he wasn't quite old enough to help her out. He was just waiting for a friend like Cinderella to show up. They talked and talked until the boy had to go back home with his grandmother. Cinderella was feeling pretty good about her super magic powers as she walked back home to make dinner for the family. As she passed the park, she wondered, how can I use these powers to fix the playground? Wiggling her fingers didn't work. She still didn't know any magic words. Maybe if I start working to clean it, something will occur to me. I am, after all, very good at cleaning. And so she did. She took trash bags to the park and started picking up trash that had been left there. Before long, a couple children came by and asked what she was doing. "I'm fixing our park so you can play in it again." The children began to help Cinderella, and soon other kids joined them. They picked up trash and pulled weeds. They arranged stumps and logs to create a play structure. Little by little, the park began to look more like what Cinderella imagined it could be, and by the time she left, it was full of children playing. Cinderella was exhausted by the time she arrived back home that afternoon and figured she had just enough time for a power nap. She was almost asleep when the fairy godmother came back. "Oh, I'm so happy to see you," said Cinderella. "I want to thank you for giving me all those super magic powers. But I tried to tell you last night. My wand was broken. I didn't give you any powers or magical abilities," said the fairy godmother. "You must have," protested Cinderella. "How else could I have made that little boy smile and given our children a park to play in?" The fairy godmother just smiled. "My dear, you did that because you possess 3 powers you developed yourself: kindness, bravery, and determination. With those 3 things, you are making a difference." And with that, Cinderella fell fast asleep.
As we move into a time of meditation, find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you wish. Put your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. And reflect on these words from Call the Midwife. "Invisible wounds are the hardest to heal, for their closure depends upon the love of others, patience and understanding, and the gift of time."
My name is Lacey Renner. I'm the development director at Vanessa Behan. I misunderstood the instructions that were clearly given to me, that I had a couple of minutes for a reading, and I have a couple extra minutes here, but I'll give that time back when I do my other portion. So thanks in advance for your grace. This is from a book called What Happened to You by Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah. And The title comes from the idea of instead of looking at people from a lens of what's wrong with you, we look at them from a lens of what happened to you. This is in Dr. Perry's voice. I sat in the darkened room watching the mother, Gloria, and her 3-year-old daughter, Tilly. Through a one-way mirror, they were doing great together. Gloria was tracking with Tilly's cues, much more in sync than in previous visits. Both appeared more comfortable with each other. Over the 2 years I had been watching their visits together, there had been so much positive change. On my left was Tilly's new CPS caseworker, Child Protective Services, her 5th over the last 2 years. On my right was Mama P, the child's foster mother. I'd known Mama P for years. She was a loving woman with an endless reserve of positive energy. She had fostered dozens of children. Each was special to her, each loved. Mama P probably taught me more about trauma and healing than anyone. Gloria had been removed from her family when she was 6. She struggled as she grew up in the child protective system, bouncing from foster home to foster home, school to school, community to community. Gloria had multiple complex social, emotional, and physical health problems related to her many traumatic experiences. Unfortunately, she'd been misunderstood by everyone. Her therapists, foster caretakers, caseworkers, judges, teachers. 20 years ago, awareness of the impact of trauma wasn't very high. By age 18, when Gloria aged out of the system, she was using a variety of drugs to self-medicate her pain. On her 19th birthday, she was 8 months pregnant and homeless. By her 20th, she had an infant daughter, no support, no family, no work. Ultimately, the Child Protective System removed Tilly. Fortunately, Tilly went straight to Mama P. Over the next 2 years, Mama P helped both Gloria and Tilly. She was attentive and nurturing, creating a safe and stable home for Tilly. And she invited Gloria to be present and involved in Tilly's life as long as she wasn't using or drinking. Mama P realized that Gloria needed as much safe and stable nurturing as Tilly. She realized that Gloria was a young, unloved child in a woman's body. In the beginning, Gloria didn't engage much, but after 9 months or so, she accepted our offer to get clinical help for her trauma-related problems. By now, both Tilly and Gloria had grown up significantly. It was getting close to the time when Gloria would be able to care for Tilly on her own. But for that to happen, CPS had to make that recommendation to the court. This observed visit was part of the CPS reunification plan. We 3 sat silently, watching Tilly and Gloria. After about 10 minutes of play, Gloria reached into her coat pocket and pulled out some candy. I could feel the CPS worker stiffen. She's not supposed to bring candy to the sessions. On my other side, I could feel Mama P make herself bigger in response to the caseworker's words. I quietly put my hand on Mama P's, trying to reassure her. She was very protective of both Gloria and Tilly. Tilly was pre-diabetic. In the first year of treatment, we'd noticed that Gloria, with so few relationship tools, used candy to make Tilly happy. We came to understand that this was the primary way in which Gloria's foster caregivers had managed her when she was young. Getting candy was the closest Gloria got to being loved. Our brains develop as a reflection of the world we grow up with. You love others the way you've been loved. Gloria was merely showing love to her daughter the best way she knew. The caseworker continued, "She knows that she's not supposed to do that. The child is pre-diabetic. This is abusive." "No," I said, "it's sugar-free candy." Clearly, the caseworker, new to Tilly and likely dealing with 60 other cases, had not read the most recent reports. "How do you know that?" I gave them to her before the session. I could feel Mama P smiling. A year earlier, in a team meeting where we were trying to figure out the best way to balance Tilly's predictable condition with Gloria's impulse to use candy to show love, one of my clinical team members wanted to admonish Gloria. He suggested searching her before visiting and prohibiting contact if she snuck candy to Tilly. Mama P disagreed. "That poor mother is doing the best she can. Let her give her daughter some candy. That is all she knows. You will not make her a better parent by punishing or shaming her. If we want her to be a more loving parent, we need to be more loving to her. So instead of admonishing Gloria, we simply had her switch to sugar-free candy and taught her about nutrition and diabetes. And of course, Mama P made sure that Gloria and Tilly both got lots of love. We explained this to the new caseworker, and together we created a transitional plan for reunification with lots of support for both Gloria and Tilly. Gloria got her GED and went to community college to study nursing. Mama P stayed active in their little family. Rather than undermine a mother doing the best she could, we kept showing Gloria and Tilly love and how to love. One of the most remarkable properties of our brain is its capacity to change and adapt to our individual world. Neurons and neural networks actually make physical changes when stimulated. This is called neuroplasticity. The way they become stimulated is through our particular experiences. The brain changes in a use-dependent way. The neural networks involved in piano playing, for example, will make changes when activated by a child practicing her piano. These experience-dependent changes translate into better piano playing. This aspect of neuroplasticity, repetition leads to change, is well known and is why practice in sports, arts, and academics can lead to improvement. A key principle of neuroplasticity is specificity. In order to change any part of the brain, that specific part of the brain must be activated. If you want to learn to play the piano, you can't simply read about it or watch YouTube or watch other people playing. You must put your hands on the keys and play. You have to stimulate that part of the brain involved in piano playing in order to change them. This principle of specificity applies to all brain-mediated functions, including the capacity to love. If you have never been loved, the neural networks that allow humans to love will be underdeveloped or undeveloped, as in Gloria's case. The good news is that with use, with practice, these capabilities can emerge. Given love, the unloved can become loving.
It's my pleasure this morning to introduce Amy Vega and Lacey Renner from Vanessa Behan. Vanessa Behan has been a safety net for thousands of families for 36 years. Amy Vega holds a Master's of Social Work degree from Walla Walla University and has been the Executive Director of Vanessa Behan since 2006. She started caring for children at Vanessa Behan over 25 years ago, working the graveyard shift. And after a life-changing experience working with the family, she returned to school to obtain her MSW degree with the desire to work more closely with parents. And for 10 years, she's worked side by side with parents and helped to develop programs that met their individual needs. Lacey Renner has been the Development Director at Vanessa Behan since 2021, when she left a job in banking for nonprofit development. She was a new mother when first introduced to Vanessa Behan and its mission, and she could imagine herself being in a position of vulnerability. And after taking a tour of the organization, joined the Funding Development Committee. She says that being a part of this organization has helped me to learn and unlearn deeply important truths, and I continue to be a more compassionate human in part because of Vanessa Behan. For feeling safe and loved is a basic human right for all children, and Vanessa Behan provides that. Please join me in welcoming Lacey Renner to the podium.
Thank you. We're going to start with a video of our founders.
The 9th, 1982, Vanessa K. Behan was killed at her home at the hands of her mother and stepfather. I was disturbed. It was disturbing to me. And my wife said, well, if it bothers you that much, why don't you get involved? And so I did.
Bill had taken a trip. We heard about Vanessa's death. And he was in Phoenix, talked to some friends. They said they had a nursery. So he went to look at it, and he said, when I get home to Spokane, I'm going to get involved with their nursery. Well, there wasn't one. So he got some friends together, formed a board, took 5 years. We opened our doors.
When we first started out, it was very small. We wanted to memorialize Vanessa Behan. Her death is the reason why we're all here. Since our inception, we've taken in 106,000 children. That's half the population of Spokane.
But right now, we just continue to need Spokane's support, each individual. The potential for what we can do for kids that's here is beyond belief.
30 years ago, when we were just moving into our first facility, we had hoped and prayed that the Spokane community would adopt the program and support it through private donations.
Yeah.
And it has in spades. Every time we've had a need, someone or some group has stepped forward with a solution. We're very, very confident the same thing is going to happen here.
Spokane paid for this. We don't take federal or state money. This is all individual and corporate donations. People of Spokane are phenomenal, but we need the continued support. We always will. We always will.
I'm so inspired by our founders. They were just regular people who saw something and did something about it. This was our luncheon video, but it is just so important to tell the story in general about how we started. Vanessa Behan is an organization in the business of stopping child abuse and neglect. Our mission is to keep kids safe, strengthen families, and create a healthier community in an environment of unconditional love. Spokane has a 50% higher child abuse rate than the rest of the state of Washington. That translates into 17 verified cases of abuse every day in our city. Vanessa died at the hands of her mom and her stepdad. although neither was ever convicted of the crime because they wouldn't testify against one another. Vanessa ultimately died from a blow to the abdomen that ruptured a bowel. But after the autopsy was completed, we learned a little bit more about her life, that she had cigarette burns, hair pulling, broken bones that had never been treated, and a skull fracture. And as you heard Bill say, he was just floored. He had a daughter that was 2 years old himself and decided to do something. And so over the next 5 years, after 1982 and 1987, we opened our doors in our first building, and that was in the Lower South Hill in the Perry District. And on that same plot, we tore down that building and built a new building that was larger so we could serve more children. And over the years, that space, we outgrew that space, and we were turning away more children than we were serving, which was just not okay with the organization, the leadership, our board, but not okay with the community either. And so the community came together and built our new space, and that's what you're seeing here on the slideshow. It's a beautiful space for the children who are most vulnerable in our community, and we love that it is the best place that they can be, because they don't often get to experience Mobius or Silverwood or all those fun places. So we wanted this to be the best. This was built and paid for by the community. As Janie said in the video, we're 100% privately funded. That means that we don't receive grants from the state or federal or any governmental entity, and this allows us to be able to take care of children and their families in the best way for each individual that we are caring for. As I mentioned, today I'd like to focus on generational cycles, and so I'm going to kind of tell you how I'm defining that. A generational cycle is a pattern or behavior that seems to repeat itself within families and the community. These patterns manifest in some of the most complex issues we face in our communities, like addiction, incarceration, teen pregnancy, homelessness, abuse, poverty. And modern science, modern brain science, can help us shed light on why these patterns seem to persist. In addition to trauma and toxic stress resulting from living in poverty, there are about 10 categories of adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs as I'll refer to them, that we have used, or brain scientists have used to describe what can happen to children in their adolescence and when they're infants as well. Those are traumatic or stressful events that occur during childhood, such as physical or emotional abuse, neglect, or witnessing violence. And what I'd like to point out about these categories are there's nothing that the child has done themselves. It's all experiences of their environment. And as the number of these categories increases, it puts children at higher risk for a variety of negative outcomes, including mental health issues, substance abuse, chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes, and early mortality. It's essential to recognize that not all individuals who experience ACEs are doomed to repeat the cycle of trauma. Protective factors play a crucial role in breaking these generational patterns. These protective factors can include positive relationships, a supportive community, access to resources, and the development of coping skills. By nurturing these protective factors, we can create an environment that fosters resilience, promoting healthier outcomes for individuals and future generations. Recent research has shown that interventions focusing on healing and resilience, can positively impact the brain and break generational cycles of ACEs. Therapeutic approaches such as trauma-informed care, counseling, and support groups can provide individuals with tools to address and heal from past traumas. This, in turn, can reshape the brain's neural pathways and create new patterns of thinking and behavior. We focus at Vanessa Behan on birth to 12. Throughout our history, it's been birth to 6. Between the ages of 0 and 9 months, babies birth 20,000 new neurons each second. And to give you some comparison to us, if I'm lucky, I might birth 700 in a day compared to 20,000 in a second. I bet I lose more than 700 in a day, so I think I'm headed this way maybe. But these are physical attributes to the brain. A child growing up in an environment where there's trauma or toxic stress, their brain looks different than a child who has grown up in a healthy environment. And that's where Vanessa Behan comes in. We can play a role in breaking generational cycles. We provide evidence-based care. We provide those protective factors to those children that we're talking about. We provide love, support, and healing to those who have experienced ACEs. We do this by creating relationships. Relationship is one of our 4 core values. I have relationships with the community and our staff, but more importantly, our staff has relationships with our families and with our children, and they're unique relationships that are built on trust. When a family trusts us and we can have that relationship with them, we can uncover what their needs are and support them within our mission or refer them to other resources in the community. And the way we do this, for example, Amy uses the analogy of an iceberg. And when a parent comes to us asking for help, they tell us the tip of the iceberg. Maybe they tell us that they need their help with their child so that they can go to the grocery store. Well, that tells us that there's something else going on. And if they share with us that they don't have any other support to help with their children, we can come along beside them and help. We do this in our respite program where we can care for their children for up to 72 hours at a time. And we hope that they will continue bringing their children back as they face a crisis or they're working through this crisis. We've learned over the last 30 years, and maybe it's obvious to some of you, but taking care of the kids is only half of the solution. We have to care for their families, their parents, their caregivers. Stress is the leading gateway to child abuse and neglect. We can do this through our parenting education or our diaper bank. I want to share a quote with you from Richard Rohr. If you do not transform your pain, you will always transmit it. Our parenting education is, we use the curriculum Circle of Security, which was developed right here in Spokane by Kent Hoffman and his team, and it's now world-renowned, and it's a really beautiful curriculum where we are able to teach parents in a similar way that we train our staff, that rather than looking at the behavior of the children who are coming to us, we look for the need underneath the behavior. And so Circle of Security allows us to, in the form of a circle, teach parents to let children go explore the world, but always come back to us and know that we're here and we're always going to be there to support them as parents. But part of that, to be able to do that, we have to recognize our own stuff, right? In order to be healthy and look at our children and to not react to their behavior and to look for the needs, we have to know what is happening inside of us to be able to respond. And so Circle of Security helps us to support parents through that exploration. Our diaper program, as I mentioned before, we have diapers that we can We have a diaper bank that allows us to give diapers every 30 days, a week's worth of diapers and wipes to families who come and see us. If we have enough formula, we can also give out formula every 30 days. One of the biggest challenges in poverty, obviously, is the budget to be able to afford these things for their children, and diapers are a huge portion of a budget every month for our families. We also have a stay, play, and learn. This is new. This is one of those ways that our leadership found to come around and support and lift up parents. This is a drop-in center, so parents come with their children, as opposed to our respite care where parents drop their children off. Our families are invited to come in, there's a facilitator, and be with their children in a safe space. They will have the opportunity, if they want, to learn how to play. Some parents don't know how to play. They can demonstrate behaviors, perhaps, if the children will cooperate or not cooperate. And the facilitator there can help them through identifying what those needs are. It's a place where they can have some relief from isolation. Oftentimes our families are facing isolation in their circumstances. Together, we can create a world where every individual has the opportunity to thrive and break free from the chains of generational cycles. I told you how our brains between 0 and 3 are building the most neurons that we ever will in our life. So we think the kids can't wait. We need to be able to say yes to them every time that they call. There is a growing need, and we still have the space. We're in our second phase of our expansion, where we're building our budget to be able to hire enough caretakers to take care of the children who call us when they call us. And you heard Janie in the video. She's talking about the tremendous potential we have to make a difference in our community. A generous member of the UU Church has agreed to match any donations that we receive today and online. And hopefully in the newsletter there was a link for you to donate, and that will all count towards that. We also have ways that folks can volunteer. We have a volunteer here in the audience, I see. And there are many different ways, from reception to childcare. And in my department, I need help with fundraising through our events. And yeah, I want to thank you for having us and for sitting here with us today and hearing our story. We are really passionate about getting the word out and making sure the community knows that we're here and available to help support families. Amy and I are going to be available in the back with a couple of resources, and I also want to invite everyone in, if you're interested, to come tour and see the facility firsthand and really see how the work is done. Meet our staff. They're incredible people. I'll have a sign up in the back. So thank you. I appreciate you having us.
We are closing today with hymn number 301. You can access the screen or your hymnal, your great big gray hymnal. It's called Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. Please stand as you're willing and able.
To
In closing today, my words come from L.R. Nost. It is time for a return to childhood, to simplicity, to running and climbing and laughing in the sunshine, to experiencing happiness instead of being trained for a lifetime of pursuing happiness. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.